everyone, I hope that you're all doing well. Today we are discussing the important MCQs on salient features of Constitution. In the salient features of Constitution, we are also covering the preamble and all the important words which are a part of the preamble, and on the basis of that only our country is being governed and it is being administered. Right. So let us go ahead. This is me, Sayyid Shujatullah. Welcome to Bright Minds IAS. Okay. Fine. The same thing I will do today also. मैं छोटा हो जाऊंगा. I will become small in size. Just like एक ज़माने में there was a time when there was a movie of Rishi Kapoor and Amitabh Bachchan. We call it as Ajuba. So in that movie they used to have the power of anytime they can become very big and anytime they can become very small. So these days this is what happening with me also on OBS on this platform. I'm becoming bigger and becoming smaller again. Okay, let us go ahead. So, if anybody wants to be a part of my classes, economic optional for UPSC or law optional, you can call to this number. Or any of these courses you want to opt along with mains answer writing, that also is anyhow available. So, you can call to this number. Fine. So the students who cannot afford mentoring classes which are very costly, they can join my free personal guidance and mentoring Telegram channel, that is Bright Minds IAS and hyphen Shujat you put it. My Telegram channel, why it is different from other channel is I don't just dump data. I don't dump data at all. First of all, what is relevant that only I will give. Along with that, I will give the syllabus for the test. I will conduct the test. I will give the results. I will give the rank. I will announce the rank. Apart from that, a subject development is also being done. Whatever tests are being conducted, the explanation video will be uploaded on the video in within 2 days. With this, what others are doing the same way we are doing, but the free of cost. Okay, so you can be a part of my Telegram channel. So before going into the MCQs, we have to first understand the various objectives and principles that are mentioned in objective resolution. Objective resolution, and this objective resolution was incorporated. Many of these principles were incorporated in our present day preamble. Present day preamble. So all the students should know this point, that objective resolution is not a part of our constitution. This is the first point. It is not a part of our constitution. This is the first point. Preamble was also once upon a time was considered not a part of the constitution. Not a part of the constitution, but Supreme Court judgments on various occasions. At the end, it was finally decided that preamble is a part of constitution. Regarding that, we will have a detailed discussions later. Okay, continue watching my videos, you will understand everything. So here there are two takeaway points. 2 points I have told you. Objective resolution is not a part of our constitution, whereas the successor to objective resolution is the present day preamble. The first page of our constitution starts with preamble. Okay, so this preamble, once upon a time, it was considered originally it was considered not a part of constitution, but Supreme Court judgments has told that yes, preamble is a part of constitution. 2 points I have given you. So first of all, we'll see what is there in objective resolution, and we will also see what is there in preamble, how these both are correlated to each other. That also we will see in this class. Then we'll go ahead with our MCQs. Fine. Just a second. The first 2 points we have already taken away with you. I think you have written in your books. The third point is this objective resolution was moved by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. This was the Constituent Assembly. Constituent Assembly is nothing but it has evolved to become the present day Parliament. Present day parliament was once upon a time called as Constituent Assembly. And obviously, when we are calling it as a Constituent Assembly and we are calling it as it is nothing but a parliament of present day, you will have what lot of people sitting here or not? Yes, people sitting, and here will be the speaker will be there, and people will sit here. So at the time of independence, we call it as Constituent Assembly. After that, we are calling it as Parliament after the Constitution came into force. So in this Constituent Assembly, Jawaharlal Nehru rose. He has risen from his seat and he has given this historic resolution called as Objective Resolution. As you all know that Britishers, after the independence, the task of making the constitution for our country was given to Indians. This was the primary demand of Indians and also the Indian leaders throughout their freedom struggle. Also, they always wanted that Indian constitution should be prepared by Indians. Okay, should be prepared to fulfill the aspirations, the objectives, the agendas of the national development of the country, and by the people only. People or through their representatives. Okay, people or through their representatives. So that was the demand of us from the national freedom movement. We demanded that. Okay, later off of the national freedom movement, we demanded this very rigorously. Okay, and but what happened is every other time the British government used to pass a act. First act they passed was Regulating Act of 1773. Then they passed Pitt's Act of 1784. Then Charter Acts came. Then Councils Acts came. Then 1909 Minto Morley Reforms Act came. 1919 we got. 1935 we got. So you can understand in any of these acts, you know that the acts were prepared by the British Parliament. Act was prepared by the British Parliament. So in British Parliament, who will be there? British ministers will be there. And British ministers are making acts to govern our country. To govern our country. How is that possible? Right. So that is how they have governed. That's why our leaders were always miffed and annoyed with this process of making laws for our country from a foreign country. From a foreign country, so they are making laws for us. They did not like about it. Okay, and they always insisted the British government, sir, Indians, we are Indians. We know better about our country. We know what do we want. So let us at least allow us to be a part of the this act making process. But that did not happen. Nor they have given us the full autonomy to prepare our own constitution. But you know that a series of events happened after the arrival of Gandhiji. We got NCM, non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement. Then we had roundtable conferences. Then Quit India movement. Then at the end, Britishers thought that it is not possible for them to again rule this country because see they are how many? They are 5 lakhs, 5 lakhs, not more than 5 lakhs Britishers are there. How much we are in that time? 36 crores. And 36 crores of the population is not happy with this 5 lakhs. Can there be a possibility of violence? Can there be a possibility of easily removal of dethroning them from the power or not? Yes. Because by the time of Quit India movement, what happened? What happened? Every small kid to the older person, they have got the feeling of patriotism, they have got the feeling of nationalism. They all wanted freedom from this particular rule. Okay, when 30 crores of the people are against a particular rule, how that it can survive? So Britishers understood about it and they said that okay, take your India, and they have divided and they have left. Then the task of making the constitution means we are there in our country, the leaders are there, and at that time many constitutions were there around the world also. Many countries were there, they had their own constitutions and they were running the country with the help of the constitution, right? So our Indian leaders has also thought that we should give a constitution for our country, for its future, for its present, for its all developmental purpose. Okay, the rights of the individual have to be secured, the duties of the individuals have to be secured, the responsibility of the state has to be secured, right? So to establish justice, to establish equality, to establish remove this power, to remove the poverty, to remove the unemployment, so we have to give a document to our country so that the future leaders, whenever the young generation comes, when they are acting Okay, when they are making laws, when they are making rules, when they are making any kind of administrative processes with regard to our country, they should not do anything haphazardly. They should not do anything arbitrarily. Okay, there should not be a tyranny of the people, because the source of the constitution of our country itself is people. Okay, when people has given you the power, you are sitting because of us, but how can you make a law to suppress us, to oppress us, to exploit us? That is not going to happen. Okay, that's why the documentation should be prepared. The constitution have to be given to the country, so that the future generations, when they come, because we are a diverse ideology, we are a diverse nations, where you are having Muslims, where you are having Hindus, where you are having Christians, where you are having Sikhs, and within these religions you are having n number of castes. And with regard to economic status, there is a problem is there. Some are very very poor, some are very very rich. And with regard to social status also, women were deprived. And with regard to this social evils were also there. Untouchability is there. Some communities are very very backward, some communities are very very forward, right? So these kind of systems are already in place. If we don't give them the document, the country will run like that only, and it will again lead to, it will again may become a colony of some other advanced power, right? That's why the leaders have to give us a constitution, and they decided. So Jawaharlal Nehru said in the Constituent Assembly, these are the objectives on our constitution. These are the objectives on which our constitution should be prepared. Our constitution should be prepared. That is called as objective resolution. Resolution is nothing but a paper is there, a document is there, where everything is written, how our country to be administered, what are the principles on which our country to be administered, what are the guidelines by which our country to be administered, what are the rights of the citizens, what are the responsibilities of the government, how the three organs of the government have to function: judiciary, legislative, executive, who are dependent on each other, where we have to ensure independency, where we have to ensure dependency. Okay, should we give a federal nature to our country? Okay, should we promote grassroots level of democracy, right? So to these many objectives were there at that time. So all of these objectives were written by the Jawaharlal Nehru along with his associates, and he stood up and told to the Constituent Assembly that these are the objectives that we have to make the constitution. On with these objectives only constitution will be prepared, and our country will develop on these principles and guidelines, like that he told. So let us see what is the objectives that he has put forward in the document. So remember this point, whatever the I have told you, this is a that is a story. So now we are going to see some UPSC stuff. So objective resolution was moved by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Whatever he told in the document, everyone was very happy. Everyone clapped. Okay, okay, fine. These are all good principles. So that objective resolutions were adopted. Adopted means yes, we accept whatever you said, sir. Like that, every member of the Constituent Assembly said, and they did the signature and they passed it. Objective resolution was adopted by Constituent Assembly on January 22, 1947. Very, very important. January 22, 1947. It is the one objective resolution on which inspired, okay, our constitution. Our constitution is inspired by this objective resolution only. Okay. So let us see what is there point by point. First of all, the objective resolution of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru speaks about the sovereignty of the country. Okay, this is India. India is sovereign. Sovereign is nothing but India is the supreme authority or not? Yes. India is the sole authority or is there or not? Yes. Is India influenced by any other country? No. No. Do we have to make laws according to other countries' pressure? No. Okay, here sovereignty is a word. Okay, when we use in polity, sovereignty is nothing but in our day-to-day life we call it as being independent. Being independent, no rules. Nobody should dictate you any rules. Nobody should make policies. Okay, for the interest of any other one. For the interest of any, we are supreme. We are supreme in our own way of administering of our country. None of the countries should dictate us what we have to do, how we have to make the laws. Right. So Jawaharlal Nehru, first of all, he talked about sovereignty. India is an independent, sovereign republic. Republic means by the people, for the people. Okay. Like republic is nothing but when the source of power is coming from people. Okay. You might have heard democracy means of the people, for the people, by the people. Here, republic is nothing but the source of power is coming from people. So we'll discuss about the republic in detail when we see the salient features of the constitution. But at this point of time, you remember that the first point he has mentioned about sovereignty of the country and republic's nature of the country. Second one, he talked about the union of our country, union of India. He talked about whatever the territories are there which are annexed by the Britishers, and whatever the uh, provinces are there, okay, which were already there at the time of independence, and whatever the states are there which are willing to be a part of India, willing to be a part of India, all of them will constitute the total country, like that he said. Okay, all of them, all of the three parts will constitute the total country of the India, like that he told. Total parts, okay, together will become a India, like that he told. Okay, territories that now comprise British India means the, you know that when Britishers left, it does not mean that Britishers has ruled the total country. Remember this point. We are having Nizam here. Okay, they are here. Jammu and Kashmir Raja Hari Singh was there. Junagadh was there. There are many princely states were there till 1947. Of course, all these princely states were very weak, powerless. They just acted as a puppet to the British government only. British government only. But you have to see this point that British does not rule each and every corner of the country. Okay, they were not present. Their authorities was not present in each and every corner of the country. They have ruled some part of the country directly by appointing a governor, a viceroy, or and they have ruled some part of the country with the help of what? Natives, nothing but princes, nothing but princes. Okay, like kings, Nizam, like that. Fine. So that's why at the time of independence we are having two categories of territories. This is the total territory of our country or not? Yes. So at the time of independence, we are having two categories of territories. One is wherever the Britishers are there and their government is there and they are only administering the laws, that is called as British India. Okay, and wherever the you will find, wherever you will find the princely states, they are acting on the anyhow according to the British government only. They are called as princely states. Princely states. That's why we are having two categories of state. Okay, two categories of territories we are having. Sorry, two categories of territories. And here the same thing Jawaharlal Nehru also told. Okay, so territories of British India, which have now become states after independence. All that, like Madras was a territory of British India. Now later on after British, when Madras is one state. Madras consists of what at that time? Today Madras is at that time Madras was Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh and Andhra Pradesh. So this is Madras. Bombay means at that time Bombay means Maharashtra and Gujarat. Bombay. This is Mysore. This is Bengal. This is Bengal. Are you remembering? So at the time of independence, we are having lot of states. Like 14 states were there. 14 were there. Okay, here we are having Hyderabad state. This is our Hyderabad, my Hyderabad state. Okay, fine. So whatever the British territories are there, which are now after independence, they have anyhow become the states. And any other parts of India as are outside the British India means princely states. Means what? Princely states. Okay, here British, here the normal states, here the princely states, and any other who are willing to join India after independence. Okay, after the division, any part of the territories who are willing to join India. So these three categories of territories will make a total union. Jawaharlal Nehru said. So second point deals with Union of India. First point deals with sovereignty and republic nature of our country. What is there in third point? Okay, third point is according to the this federalism. Federalism. Remember this point. Okay, in the third point, Jawaharlal Nehru said, whatever the states were there, territories were there, they shall possess and retain the status of autonomous units, nothing but federal. Means every state, however it is functioning, what matters they are functioning, like Madras state is there, Mysore state is there, Bombay state is there. At the time we called them as presidency, but these are there or not? Yes. So how they have functioned, in what matters they used to function independently without asking the union government at that time, CLA, Central Legislative Council. Okay, without asking them. Okay, there are some matter. If you are remembering this fact, in Government of India Act of 1935, so we are having transferred list, reserved list. If you are aware of this, all these facts, because we have not done this, so you might not be able to correlate. But remember this point. I will tell you in very simple way. When we were ruled by our Britishers, the state used to have some items, some subjects where state government, like provinces, can only make laws, and union government at that time did not interfere. It means what? Britishers already established a federal type of nature in our country before they left. Already there was a federalism going on in our country before they left. But it was never a true federalism at that time also, today also. True federalism means you don't touch my subject. Like law and order belongs to state. Law and order means police, its administration, its recruitment, and the way they perform the duties. Everyone should be, it should be restricted to what? CM only, Home Minister of the state only. Means central government will not talk about this. How many stations have to be established? What are the powers of circle inspector? What are the powers of ACP? Okay, whom to be arrested? Whom not to be arrested? Okay, if any protest is having, what action should be taken? Central government has no powers with regard to this kind of stuff. Even agriculture, even land, which land to be developed, how it's had to be developed. So it is not there. It is not there. These powers are not there with UN government. It is there only with the state government. State government autonomously utilizes these powers and make laws according to its requirements. So before independence only, a federal character was given to our country already by the Britishers. And after independence, we have retained the more or less the same federal character by adding and removing some subjects from the union list to the state list, like that, vice versa happened. But true federalism was not there before. True federalism was not there after. True federalism means you don't touch my subjects at all. I don't touch your subjects at all. Means UN government should not interfere in state items. State government should not interfere in the matters related to union government. Like space is there, like ISRO is there. State government cannot make any law with regard to space, with regard to ISRO. Only union government can make laws with regard to state or ISRO, space or ISRO. Even armies are there. State government has no powers on the defense forces, like Navy, we are having Army, we are having, okay, and we are also having Air Force, right? Only union government is having. With regard to banking also, banking only union can exercise the powers how the bank should function, not the license. Who should be giving the license for the banks? Only union government will do that, not the state government. So when two governments are there in a country and they are acting independently in their own spheres, we call it as federal. We call it as federal. Mind you, the federalism is very good in USA, but federalism is not there in UK. In UK, Britain, they don't have federalism. The country itself is one. Okay, so I don't want to go into that discussion again, but I have to explain this. So Jawaharlal Nehru told in the third point of objective resolution that the states, the provinces, Madras, Bombay, whatever are there, Madras, Bombay, Mysore, Bengal, whatever the presidencies are there, how they are working and in which matters they were independent, they have to retain the same status. They have to retain the same status. Remember this point. Just a second. Many times what happened, I did not on the recording, and it was totally completed. Then later on I got to know that, oh my god, I have to record again. So that was the problem. Fine. So first one is sovereign republic. Second one is okay the Union of India. What constitutes to be Union of India was given in the second point. Third point is of federal nature. Fourth point. Okay. So what organs of government should be there, and the powers of the total country means PM and consular minister. We have elected them, and we have given the power to rule our country. To sorry, rule is a very wrong word. Power to govern our country. Okay, and its various organs, whether it is judiciary, whether it is executive, whether it is parliament. Okay, governance by these three organs. The power to govern this are derived from the people. Means we are only electing them, we are only sending them. Okay, means here the people are supreme. That's why we call it as democracy. So democracy related principles are there in fourth point. Then fifth point talks about the social evils. It talks about justice. It talks about economic justice, social justice, political justice, equality of status, equality of opportunity. Okay, because poor people, he cannot go abroad. Rich people can go abroad and complete their studies in Harvard and Oxford. Then poor people should be given the this assistance to go to abroad or not. Both are having same talents, same merit marks, but he can go and learn and become more bigger. But he cannot go and he cannot learn, he cannot improve his skills, and he cannot go to that level. Right? When you give the resources, only the person will develop. Otherwise, how you can develop? Otherwise, how you can develop? Right? So, equal opportunity we have to give to the citizen. Equality before the law. Article 14 is there here. Freedom of thought, expression, belief, faith. Article 19 is there here. See how relevant the objective resolution is there with our present constitution. Present constitution. Okay. And again, you remember, all of these are again subjected to law and public morality. The same things we are having in 19. Article 19 says that we should be given all the six freedoms, but all the six freedoms are limited. Full freedom, 100%. Absolute freedom is not given in 19th article. The word absolute is important here. If they ask you in the statement that absolute freedom is given, means wrong. Okay, there are limitations to our. You cannot talk ill about anyone. You cannot scold our judge. You cannot scold the PM like that. It's not possible. So freedom of speech. You cannot talk about your country against. Okay. So many of our you can protest, but you cannot vandalize the things whatever is coming in your way. अब रोड पे तोड़ो फोड़ो ये नहीं हो सकता. You can protest. So when you are having right to protest, right to form associations, you cannot have an association of prostitutes. You cannot have an association of corrupt people. Okay, you cannot have an association of murderers. You cannot have that. Okay, so you are given freedoms, but that freedoms have to be subjected to what decency, morality, national interest, national dignity, security of the country, and so on and so forth. So all are talked here. Then, and in our country, there are like 84% of the population is Hindus, and rest of the population belongs to minorities. Here, 12% is Muslims, then we are having six, then we are having Jains, then we are having Buddhists, then we are having Zoroastrians, then we are having Parsis. So, for their purpose, because as they are in minority, okay, and they are scattered everywhere in the country, okay, they cannot be elected in any MLA or MP seat, very hardly. They can never be a part of decision making process, right? So if 545 seats are there in the parliament, in the Lok Sabha 545 seats are there, how many Muslims, Sikhs, Jains, Buddhists will be there here? No. So like that, almost like 520 all belongs to Hindu majority. Then if they pass a law that has to even what help these minorities or not, they cannot pass a law to their interest, to the majority interest. So constitution has reminded that the future lawmakers, the future parliamentarians, see you are also having minorities, take care of them, take care of them. You can know that article 25 to 28, again 29 to 30, we talk about minorities. We talk about minorities. Remember this point. So these people, whatever, because out of, if they want any law, okay, they can never become first of all PM. Not possible, because okay, from there the becoming PM is not possible. It has to be like he cannot directly come. He cannot directly come. Okay, he can be appointed one like Manmohan Singh, but directly like I find I have found a I have formed a party like Sayyid Shujatullah has formed a party like India's Democratic Party. I have found it. Can I win any time in my life 300 plus seats? Not possible because my population is very less. The same goes with Sikhs and all. Right there again, they cannot represent the country wholesomely. That's not possible until and unless I should be given a chance appointed by the majority community. Majority community. So you are getting my point. Okay, and to get the majority in the parliament, I have to get the number of because seats are divided on the basis of number of population. My population is very less, and population also not in one area. Here 30 some Muslims, and here some Sikhs, here some Jains, here some Muslims, here some Sikhs, here some Sikhs. Like that, it is divided. So how can they become a part of the PM? How can they become CM? That's not possible at all. It's not possible at all. So constitution has reminded the majority that you are having minority also with you. So please take care of them. And that's why. So some safeguards were given. If any Hindu majority party came to power and it has got very fanatic ideology, okay, if they want to impose their culture, their traditions on the other minorities, how to prevent, how these minorities have to be prevented from this aggression showed by the Hindu majority if such kind of people are a part of that executive, such kind of people are a part of the executive, how to protect them. That's why the constitution makers has given, seeing things around them and experiences, they have given some safeguards. That is what article 25 to 28, 29 to 30 minorities safeguards were given. Not only that, any backward classes, tribal areas, depressed and backward class, all that were given. Seventh one, talk about India's relationship with other countries. Land relations means India is having land border with Bangladesh, Pakistan, like that, or sea, okay, or airspace like airlines. According to, so whatever the, according to the law of the civilized nations, means all the civilized nations came together and they made a law like United Nations law of seas. So India should maintain friendly relations with other countries and follow a law with regard to land border, with regard to sea related things, with regard to airspace. So remember three, in this three aspect only objective resolution of Jawaharlal Nehru talks about follow international laws, follow international laws for the world peace and amity. That is given in Article 51, I guess, in DPSP. 51, I guess, in DPSP. Okay, maintaining international peace and harmony. It's also one of the objectives. So India can have, with regard to land border, with regard to air related, with regard to sea related, India can have, India can obey the law made equal for everyone. India can obey the law made for equal for everyone. So it is there. Okay, fine. Then India, this objective resolution of Jawaharlal Nehru also talks about India should become powerful leader. India should become a powerful country. It talks about, and India should earn an honored place in the world. India should earn a honored place in the world. Okay, and India should continuously strive to promote world peace, should not fight, and to do whatever they can do, whatever we can do for the welfare of mankind. For the welfare of mankind. So there is lot of like Syrian problem is there, Palestinian problem is there. Okay, here also India should promote world peace and welfare of mankind. Welfare of mankind means in the world, if any of the part of the countries like in China, Uyghur Muslims are there, in Myanmar, Rohingya Muslims are there, in USA, black people are there, many such isolated, desolated, disassociated groups of people are there. If any atrocities are happening on any of them, India should take a stance and promote in any way. India's duty is to promote welfare of mankind. Okay, that's why India will always see that whom to vote, whom not to vote when they go to United Nations Security Council. Fine. So these are all I have given you. So, and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru also told that these objectives are not just objectives. Okay, it's a we have to make sure that we should take a pledge. We should resolve that all of these points should be taken into consideration to give India a constitution. To give India a constitution. Remember this point. So it's just not a declaration, my dear friends, like that he told Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay, it's just not a declaration. It has to be a pledge. It has to be a resolve that we are going to have all of these principles in the constitution for sure. And everyone agreed, and it was adopted on 22nd January 1947. I think you got it. Chalo. And this is very important. Please, guys, you should know this. Our constitution start with "We the people of India." Okay, American Constitution also starts with "We the people of India," "We the people," and UN Charter also starts with "We the people." Solemnly resolved means with our wholeheartedly we resolve, we accepted that India is going to be a sovereign, socialistic, secular. Okay, S and D R. Okay, SSSDR. Okay, 3SDR. SDR is a camera. SDR is a camera, Sony camera. So SDR you remember, just you remember the 3 year, 3 SDR. Okay. So this sequence was already asked in the examination. You should know it. Sovereign, first of all, we are independent. Socialistic, inequalities have to be removed from the country. Secular, democratic, republic. And this is India should be this way. And with the help of these principles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 principles, India should secure to all of its citizens justice. Justice in the matter of society. No one should be given more preference in the society. There is nothing called as Brahmans and Shudras differentiation in the society. There should nothing called as caste related inequalities should not be there. There is nothing called as men and women inequality should not be there. Society. Okay, religion, ethnic, society. Everyone in the society should get justice. Economic justice. Everyone okay can start its business. Everyone can take loan to start a business. Everyone can choose occupation of its choice. Everyone can trade whatever they want to trade. Of course, there should not be illegal items, right? So this is called as economic justice. When everyone, irrespective of what religion you are, irrespective of what caste you are, irrespective of what ethnicity you are, irrespective of what gender you are, everyone should be given what? Economic justice. Okay. Political justice means everyone in the country should be given right to vote, right to contest elections, right to vote, right to contest election, right to form a political party, right to form a political association, right to form a association to review the laws also. Not a problem at all. Okay, anything related to what? Politics. Anything related to politics. Everyone should be given. Everyone should contest for the post of president, whether it is male, whether it is female, whether it is Muslim, whether it is Hindu, whether it is Jains, whether it is Buddhist, whether it is what I say is Zoroastrians, whether it is Parsis. Anybody, this particular office of the president and all the posts will be open to everyone. Of course, we are having Article C 16.4, 16.3. I guess one of the articles says that for religious institutions, okay, the particular person has to be appointed from the same religion. That is another matter. But that things are already discussed by the framers of the constitution only. They know what to do, what not to do. But here, in the generalized sense, exemptions are there everywhere. Exceptions are there everywhere. Exceptions are there in your home only. Somebody will not like milk, somebody will not like tea, somebody will not like biryani, somebody will not like biryani. There is no person in the world that will not like biryani. Biryani is the most delicious food. Biryani is called as king of rice. It means what? In the world, whatever the dishes are there which are made through rice, whatever the dishes are there which are made through rice, the most delicious is biryani itself. Okay, that's why it is called as king of rice. King of rice. There is no other dish in the world that is better than biryani. Okay, remember this point. Don't hate it. It's very very delicious. Okay, as because it's from Hyderabad, you should not hate it. If it is from your place, then you will love it. But that is a fact. It is a recognized fact all over the world. Okay. And whatever you are having biryani in your places in Delhi, in Jaipur, in Maharashtra, whatever you are having biryani, that is not biryani, that is pulao. And don't like I should not say, but don't ever say that biryani is bad because you had a bad biryani, because that is not a biryani at all. Veg biryani I told रहता ही नहीं. There is no recipe for veg biryani. It's a pulao. So you are given a wrong rice in the name of biryani. That's why you're not liking it. This difference you should know it. Okay. फाइन. क्या है सर, बीच में से बिरयानी पे चले गए? अभी मेरा दोपहर का टाइम है भाई, अभी देखो क्या टाइम होगा, फोन तो उधर है, 2 बज रहे होंगे, मुझे भूख लग रही है. Okay. We the people of India having solid, this is an okay justice, social justice. I told you, liberty of thought. कुछ भी सोच लो आप, कोई बात नहीं, बुरा नहीं सोच. Expression means I can express with any way. I can express with cartoons. I can express with memes. I can express in the articles. I can express anywhere. Okay. Belief, this is not belief, this is belief. I can believe in your culture, you can believe in my culture, I can follow your custom, I can believe in Shiv, I can believe in Jesus. So you are having liberty to believe in anything. I can believe if a dog is going, a cat is what cutting my way, that is also okay for me. Somebody may believe, somebody may no, it's your belief. We are not here to concern about what you are feeling. Faith is nothing but your religion, what you are doing, and the worship, and a version. So everyone is free to do any of this. That's this is where these three will constitute a secular. Very important. In preamble, which one of the following? Okay, which one of the following are given as a token of secularism? Okay, which where it is given means it is given in liberty. In liberty, they talk about faith, worship, and belief. So you can understand that many people will say that article secular was not present in original constitution. Secularism was not present in original constitution. That is very right. We have added by 42nd amendment add. Okay, secularism. But you see here, liberty it should be given in belief, faith, and worship. Then what it is then? The first page of the constitution talks about secularism in direct way. Then what about the articles present in 25 to 28, 25 to 28 and 29? What does it means about? So secularism is there everywhere. Okay, in objective resolution when everyone adopted, it talks about minorities safeguards or not. Yes. Okay, by just see the secularism is the essence of our constitution, though it is not explicitly mentioned here because people will fight on it. That's why they might have, the political parties may fight on it. That's why they have never expected to write it, because again this will become nowadays this is the problem with the countrymen only. I mean, Admiral. Okay, so secularism nowadays on this word only people are fighting on the social media, but they don't see the liberty. So they don't see the liberty clause. Liberty clause is accepted by everyone or not? Is accepted by every. This might not be accepted by the original when they make the constitution. Maybe Baba Sahib Ambedkar, everyone was there. They have not written secularism there, but they have accepted this or not? Right, they have accepted this or not. So it is like a people, in order to gain political mileage, in order to come to power, they talk about all of these things. So you should understand, that is why there's a difference between educated and uneducated person. Educated person, when you give the information, no, he will think. Uneducated person, when you give information, no, he will think it is right. He will think it is right. This is called as irrationalism. This is called as rational persons. So be a rational person. Whenever you get the information, try to know the information and analyze it whether it is right or wrong. Okay. So आजकल तो the people who are educated also are behaving like uneducated. पढ़े लिखे, ये बोलते ना, पढ़े लिखे जाहिल बोल के बोलते. We call them like that way. Okay, अनपढ़, पढ़े लिखे अनपढ़. So that is how it's happening. So this provision was accepted by the Constituent Assembly or not? Yes. Means in India they already know that you are having liberty to liberty of belief, faith, and worship. Then what is the use of this secular at all? Why you are fighting on it? It is already written here, secularism. So this, yes, so very important things I am telling you. Please have this in your mind. Please spread the right to knowledge. Okay, so that we should have a happy harmony, happy peaceful lives in our country, and we should love each other. We are all Indians, first of all Indians. We have to make India superpower. If we are weak inside, then the world will not allow us to be normal. Remember this point. Then equality, I have told you about. See, this whatever is there in the objective resolution, are you seeing all of them are being present in the preamble or not? Yes. Status, equality of status, opportunity to promote among them all fraternity. Fraternity means brotherhood. भाई भाईचारा लिखा हुआ है. Why you are fighting with your brothers? Okay, the भाईचारा लिखा हुआ है. You know there are some people. There are some there is some population of the. Um, I have read in one of the article that there's there are few people in Hindus, okay, who are radicalized by the different people. Okay, so what is happening in our country means in anywhere in the world, if the Muslims are hurt, if the Muslims are killed, if the Muslims are murdered, these people are saying that acha hua. These people are saying that acha hua. See in Syrian, in Palestine, okay, uh, children's even died. Women also died. What role they are having in the combat? You tell me. What role they are having in the combat? No role at all. Okay, so you are taking the men away. That is okay, but you are killing the children's further. So that's why I'm saying there is a section of Hindu society. Okay, very few I'm talking about who got totally radicalized. Okay, and every time whenever. Uh, Anything happens to any Muslim around the world, they are feeling happy. I mean, why they want to feel happy for such a crimes? Why they want to side with anyone for such a murder kind of aspect, right? That is very, very bad. That should not be there. Fine. So then we got it. Please spread that. Please spread that. You should not hate the mankind. You should not hate the mankind. You should try to find out what is right, what is wrong. Then you can punish them. Okay. So fraternity talks about dignity of the individual have to be maintained as an individual. My dignity have to be maintained. What I am believing, what I am eating, what I am wearing, it has to be what taken in a very tolerant way. Okay, bhaichara way. Unity, we have to be one unit. This is not unit. This is unity and integrity of the nation. And we adopted our constitution and the Constituent Assembly, after the objective resolution, it is adopted. Means the preamble was adopted, the Constitution was totally adopted. Okay, on 26th day of November 1949. Okay, so everyone signed it, and they told that it is hereby we adopt, enact, and give ourselves a constitution. Give ourselves a constitution. Okay, so thanks a lot for into me. I'll cover the MCQs in my later class. So I'm very hungry and it's been a long time. I'm doing it. I'll do it in night. Bye bye. Take care.